This was Levy's game of the career so far, and I mean it. In round 7 of the Spilimbergo Open, played in Italy, our most famous content creator on YouTube and Twitch channel played something I can only describe as a roller coaster. So it was packed with a lot of emotion, missed opportunities, and drama, and time scramble, and sacrifices, and pass pawns, and coach getting a bit older during the live broadcast. Everything was included, pure content. I mean, the viewers better grab some popcorn. You have to see this. Look at this, what happened in the game. So Levy played knight f3. He was playing against Clendis Anelli, a young Albanian candidate master. We're looking at several continuations in our opening prep, but we decided to stick with the Reti because we expected that Clendis is going to play g6. This was part of the prep. We were scouring some of his games, and we noticed that he likes to play the system with an early c6. So we expected this, and I suggested to Levy to try out this idea a4, because I have some very pleasant memories myself by beating a very nice opponent a couple of years ago. The idea is to play a5, bishop f4, c3, and grab space advantage. And now prep basically ended here, because after c4 I said that most likely your opponent either is going to take on c4 or play a short castle. After short castle there was a very nice idea prepared. D takes on c4, knight a3, and that's it. This is where the preparation ended. Black cannot play b5 because of a takes on b5, and bishop e6 is knight g5. So there you go. Short castle, knight c4, and knight e4. Probably was a surprise to Levy, and he got already a significant advantage on the clock, 15 minutes extra. So here, the problem was that Levy was quite not familiar with the position. I suppose he got to play simple b3 and bishop b2 and see what happens. He started for some reason queen c2, deciding to hit the knight. There were some crazy ideas like bishop f5, black will play this, and after g4 play bishop e6, and now queen e4 is bishop c4. White can play knight a5, and now engine says knight e6. The position is somehow level because the pawn hangs and the knight hangs. Let me tell you this, nobody's calculating like this, at least among the mortal players. So knight e6 was played, and I expected d4 to grab the center. For some reason, Levy now played b3 and started wasting 10 pieces with the queen. Bishop e6, another move by the queen, queen d3, knight a6, and I was getting a bit worried here because you cannot easily invest so many moves with the queen and then get a good position after the opening. Bishop a3 was played, and here apparently the young Albanian made an inaccuracy. Correct move was knight c4 and then play knight b4, but these are nuances. Knight b4 was played, takes, and knight e2. So finally Levy had managed to normalize his position, and here knight f5 was played by Clendy, hitting the pawn here. Levy played e3, c5, so you see black was trying to exploit the pin along the diagonal at the d file. And during the broadcast I had a feeling that Levy could sacrifice the pawn. So rook c1, c takes on d4 and e4. I wasn't really sure what's going to happen here, but after knight e6, somehow I felt that these pieces are discoordinated, moves like e5 for knight g5 for rook d1. I want to have a look at this more closely. However, also what Levy played, it made perfect sense, g4, because knight h6 feels to be a very strange move, which is the best choice of the engine to disconnect the knight. h3, and now black is going to have a hard way to bring the knight in the game. So knight a6 was a very human move, and Clendy was surprised by d takes on c5, a positional exchange sacrificed by Levy. So he sacrificed the rook a1, and now knight c8 was a strange move by the Albanian player. I suppose he was getting ready to put the knight on c6, but the problem is it's simply too slow. Knight e8 is better. After knight c8, Levy found a very strong move, queen e4, hitting the pawns on b7 and b4. Bishop d5, queen b4, knight a7. And here Levy already had a huge advantage, and all he needed to do is to normalize the position and play moves like queen c3, b4, and have a good position. He played e4. That's a move I do not like, and we are going to talk about this in our training sessions, is that he should have expected a positional pawn sacrifice from the opponent. This is something where Levy can still improve his game. Knight b4, queen e2, and black plays something like bishop e6 with a very nice compensation, even though white has 3 pawns for the sacrificed exchange. So bishop c6 was played by the Albanian player. Levy played queen c3, queen c7, knight e5. Okay, Engine here likes b4, but knight e5 looks pretty human. And after rook d8, something started to happen here. I don't know what it was, because you can see on the clock Levy had 40 minutes versus Klendy's 24. There was no need to remove the knight from the center of the board. It's a beautiful piece, essentially deja vu. What happened the round 6 against Nikhil from the India, what Levy also did in that game, he had a very nice knight's outpost that he decided to remove it for some case. The right idea here was to play g5 with knight g4 and knight h6. I suppose Levy did not notice this because he was so focused on the rook d2 idea and queen e5 that allowing this knight to hang was simply not under his radar. So here, white would win the game. Now what happened here, knight c4 was played, allowing black to anchor the queen on f4. Now Levy played very quickly h3. Here black suddenly got very active. Rook d7, knight e3, as they say, mistakes come in pairs. Levy wanted to get the knight on d5. Rook d8. Now after knight e5, maybe this is what Levy quite didn't expect from afar, is that black can actually sacrifice the exchange for a very powerful compensation. Wonderful pieces and the extra pawn for white doesn't even feel. So maybe Levy changed his mind and played rook a2. Let me check how much time he spent. No, it was like 1 minute. Rook d3, queen a5, and I was starting to get really worried about Levy here. Rook d7 was played because Levy wanted to play knight e5 and hit the queen on d8. Levy played knight e5 anyway. Now, this was apparently a big mistake, but you cannot blame the Albanian player because it looks so human. After knight c6, suddenly this queen is hit, queen a8 is rook d8, and the knight on d2 is hanging. Here, Levy actually had no choice but to sacrifice the queen. How many times in his career has Levy sacrificed the queen for just a bishop? Look at this, queen d2. And c takes on b7, even though objectively this is still a draw. So Klendy had 40 minutes to pick up the correct defense to play queen e1 check. King h2 is going to be queen e5, no progress. Bishop f1, queen b4. The pawn is under attack. Bishop g2, queen e1's repetition. And after c6, probably the most annoying idea here is e5, e4, e3. Black exposes the white king and position is objectively drawn. So Levy could have played bishop b5, closing the queen with ideas like, oh, I'm sorry, not here. I believe it was bishop c4 with ideas to pin the pawn, e4, king f1, etc. Very complex lines, but objectively, it's somehow, according to Engine, it's a draw. What happened here was queen d1 was the mistake, queen d8, and b4. I don't know what happened here, why b4 was played by Levy, because suddenly he was winning, and it was all about the race of the pawns that he should have done here. Now, the pawn on b7 needs support. c6, c7 is going nowhere. So that's why the obvious move was a5. White will be winning this because, for example, black is not in time to expose the king. a6, f takes, a7, exactly one spy check, king g1, no more checks, and white is promoting with a check on b8 and winning the game. For some reason, Levy played b4, super slow move, preparing to play a5, but again, the thing is, after a5, queen a5, you always promote. So this is a very mysterious move, probably something to do with the nerves. Here, Klendy played a5, trying to expose the king, the correct idea, because his only chance to save the game, despite the fact that he has the queen versus the bishop, is to deliver a perpetual check. a5 was played, queen b8, king g1, f takes on g4, h takes on g4. It's really difficult to stay focused and precise with your calculations when the time scramble is upcoming, and queen e5. Now, according to an Engine here, the only drawing idea here for black was to play h5. The point is, you need to open more files, more diagonals around the king. For example, g takes on h5. Now, black plays queen f4. For example, h takes on g6 makes no sense. You'll play a6, check, and there's always going to be more checks, more checks, more checks towards the white king. So here, black missed it. He played queen e5. Levy played a6. During the broadcast, I was actually speculating that both of the all the moves seem to be winning, and a6 is very human. Agent says it's a small inaccuracy. It even was given a double question mark. Queen e1. The position repeated a couple of times. And for some reason, Levy decided not to play bishop f1. I suppose it was all about nerves here. And after queen b4, he saw queen g4 and some perpetual checks. Apparently, White is still winning with this very cold move, bishop e2. And then, for example, after h5, he can even afford to play c6. And White is winning. H takes a7. You cannot stop those pawns. There's no perpetual check. It's absolutely insane. So Levy played it here, king h3. h5 was kind of a mistake, but pretty human move. Queen c3 was probably better. h5, a7 was a mistake. Again, bishop f3 slightly preferred by Engine, but I believe it's still a theoretical draw. a7 takes, queen f5 here, check here, and now here the Albanian made the final mistake. The only way to draw was queen e1 check, with the idea that there's always going to be a check. For example, after king h3, you have queen c3. Maybe this, oh, sorry, not queen c3, queen e3. Maybe this is the check he missed from afar. There's always checks for black. Instead, he decided to give queen e3 check immediately, simply missing Levy's very strong bishop f3, king h3, bishop g2, and here black ran out of checks. Levy wins. So this means he has scored one of the craziest comebacks, victories in his career, essentially sacrificing a queen for a bishop, a bunch of pawns, and playing one of the most memorable and at the same time most stressful games in his career. During the broadcast on Levy's Twitch and YouTube channels, at the same time, we had like about 33,000 concurrent viewers following this drama. So everybody at the end was Cloud9, and the coach gets officially aged for at least 10 years. Anyway, a victory is a victory. So an exciting game. This is exactly the reason why we love the game. So the action will come back tomorrow with yet another brand new game, round number 8. Levy doesn't really have any chance at this tournament for GM norms because he lost a couple of important points early in the tournament. Still, it's all about the ELO points, all about the valuable experience. So come back tomorrow at 3:15 Central European Summer Time. I'm going to be host on Levy's YouTube, Twitch, and YouTube channels to provide some more instructive analysis and insights in our training sessions. See you tomorrow.